welcome back to The Law, live audio wrestling here on all of your podcast providers, SMNE Radio, YouTube. You know, if you type us into the Google machine, you will find us on pretty much a platform everywhere. Now, Chris, we had AEW Dynasty last evening, and I know you stayed up late, really late here on the East Coast. I think it ends at 4 a.m. with these pay-per-views. It felt like it was a 9-hour pay-per-view, but we had from 8 p.m. until about midnight or so, a little after midnight. That was our AEW pay-per-view time frame. How tired were you after this event? How tired were you after this event, man?
This made me realize that I am the stupidest person you know. Because I was already living on that West Coast time at one point in my life. And I screwed it up so bad that my only choice was to go to Eastern Standard Time. Ugh, that in itself is jail, if you ask me, because there is nothing worse. There is nothing worse than having to try to fight to stay awake, because I ain't as young as I used to be, and I know y'all ain't either. But having to stay awake until midnight on a Sunday, when you can clearly tell we ain't so financially set that, we don't have to work the next day. Well, I did, not Moneybags Magoo over here, but yeah, that guy. So I was hella tired, bro. I was absolutely hella tired. How are you, though?
Yeah, I was okay, but the problem is I was fighting staying awake since before. I'm still celebrating 420. I'm not gonna lie. I got into the groove of 420 on 418 back 22 years ago, and I'm still riding that train.
Well, I can't imagine that you do anything different on 420 that you don't do on 417 or 405 or 706 or any of the other days of the year.
I think it was just stronger during this time of year. It's stronger during that weekend. It doesn't matter where you go. Everybody wants the best of the best, right? So I was fighting an edible takeover, but I did get through the event. I don't think I was as tired at the end of that pay-per-view as the people in attendance, though, but we'll get into that. So let's start at the beginning of the card. Let's start with RJ and Renee, the Wrestle-Ants. They welcomed us on the YouTube platform. They welcomed us when we opened up the PLE. Well, Renee did. What do you think about the combo of the Wrestle-Ants?
I think they're fantastic. I think they're a couple of lovely ladies doing fantastic things.
I agree.
And the entertainment is exactly what they need. It almost feels like every single time, how when you watch like a WWE pay-per-view and you see at the beginning stuff and they're doing all that lead up stuff and they've got the table and they're doing the thing. And it's like, yeah, okay, we enjoy the talk with Booker T and whoever else Booker T is, shitting on at the time before one of the pay-per-views. It's great. It's fantastic. I think that the chemistry between Renee and RJ is tremendous. I mean, RJ is a star for a reason, and I feel like he kind of has to kick it down a notch sometimes.
Well, he's like Todd Pettingill in this role, but with talent.
I was about to say, yeah. So that's what I thought about that. Speaking of talent, AEW pulled out a lot of stops last night, boy. Right. And we for one, myself, very much, I've not been AEW's biggest fan. You know what I mean? I've gone on record as saying there is some stuff that they do that I think is a little silly. Now, with that said, there's some stuff that WWE does that is a little silly too. There's TNA does some silly stuff. It's the world of professional wrestling, and everything that we do is goddamn silly. But what they put on last night, I thought was absolutely stellar. A couple of little hiccups here and there. I thought it was great though. Right? What was the first match that really was like, oh, okay, we're in pay-per-view mode here?
We'll push the pre-show aside and we'll just go right into the Bastard Pac versus Okada. I think that was a great way to open up the show. I think it set the tone for the night. It put everybody in a really good mood. It was good storytelling. The best parts of New Japan Pro Wrestling were brought in, with the best parts mixed with like the British kind of strong style, I guess they're calling it now. It's really British catch wrestling, but the British strong style mixed with the American style. It was just a perfect blend of wrestling. And I really like the story they told. I love Pac. I think he's coming into his own as one of the best in that. Like, he's always been really, really, really good, but he is next level now.
Yeah.
He's doing stuff in a completely different category than he was even just a couple years ago. And then Okada, as great as Okada is, I like seeing him work in American style and playing to the crowd because he's got a crowd to work with now. Which is
Yeah, I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's the best heel that he could possibly be right now. And I get it. That's kind of a tough role, for him to play. So he's still very basic on the things that he does as a heel. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense to you, like the going for the big pose thing, but then flipping off the crowd or whatever, right? Little stuff like that. And but he's going to get there. He does the right things and he's around enough good people that, being a good heel just takes some time.
Now, that's crazy to say when you're like, Okada will get there. It's like this guy's been around forever. He's been a legend, but he hasn't been in an American style and he hasn't been on American TV to really get, because the Japanese crowds are not like that. They're not going to play into this shit the way that the fans in St. Louis did, which that was, you could definitely tell that is an old school wrestling territory because they almost took that show over last night. We've had chants like coming out of everywhere, but yeah, Okada playing to that crowd, that is new. So eventually you're right. He'll gauge that better a year from now.
Well, I mean, the fan, I mean, it's St. Louis. That's Sam Mushnick territory there, Bradie.
Yeah, I know. We're just talking about that.
When you talk about it, think about like Nakamura. How long has Nakamura been on North American TV now? He's been on there for quite some time. I still don't really buy him as a heel, like a big, mean, nasty, old school heel.
He's never going to be big, nasty.
That's what I'm saying, right? So, and I think that the psychological heel type doesn't really transfer through because of the language barrier. You have to be able to relate in one way or another to your audience. And if it's a North American audience, most of them are English speaking human beings. That language barrier doesn't translate. The translation of the things you're trying to say that you would be able to say on Japanese TV and people be like, oh, holy shit. Oh, wow. That you can't say that, but you translate it over into Americanized TV and it doesn't mean anything that we would remotely get mad at.
Well, the other thing that this did, besides laying down the foundation for the night when it came to work rate, is it laid down the foundation for the night. And I don't know if you noticed this or not, or if anybody else noticed this. It may have just been me, but this was a title match. And this was one of 1,200 titles appearing on the pay-per-view tonight, some of them not up.
Yeah. That is the first thing that I will say about, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this show. And that is definitely one of the ugly for me, is the fact that there is 92,000 belts. I think it's one of those things that AEW, needs to really take some stock in. Like, I don't know why we need 37 belts in one match. Like, it's crazy the amount of.
The fucking managers are walking out with their belts.
Bro.
Like, dude, come on, just leave some of them behind.
Yeah.
If it's not on the line, don't bring it out.
I'm surprised Excalibur hasn't come out with a belt for, he's the best broadcaster or something at the table, and they can start feuding there too.
I should probably save this for the end, but whatever. There's two things. There's two things you can do to. I apologize, AEW loyalists. There's two things you can do to really change that company overnight.
Okay.
You can fire some people. One of them has to be Excalibur. Get him off the commentary team.
You don't understand. You don't understand the purpose of a guy wearing a mask who's never seen on TV. Please
get him off. He is so bad. I've tried. I've gone up and down. I hate shitting on people. Please get Excalibur. Can we just try a couple nights without him? Let's just can he get sick for a week? I just want to fucking hear what this show would sound like without Jericho popping in to replace Excalibur or Excalibur. Like, I just want Just give me normal commentary once, just to let me hear what it sounds like.
You want Tony Schiavone and Taz? That's what you want?
Two, I apologize to remove this many jobs this quick, but take every single referee that you have and say, I hope you saved your money. We're hiring real referees that know what they're doing. Proceed, Tid. Sorry, I had to get that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, everybody has an opinion, and it's okay to have those opinions.
It's mine.
Moving on, however.
I just heard Excalibur's name, and I'm like, okay, I can't do it. I heard. That's it.
Yeah.
You triggered me.
I think there was a few matches that kind of, let's talk about that. That was definitely the ugly of it.
That's the ugly. We got the ugly out of the way.
Yeah. Let's talk about the bad.
Oh, the bad.
The bad for me, outside of some of the refereeing, as it were, or lack thereof, I should say. The bad for me, which really, if you think about how good all of the other stuff was, the bad wasn't horrible.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't as good as the good,
mm-hmm.
Right? I didn't think that the match with Willow Nightingale was all that great.
It was not a good match.
And Julia Black, right? Was it? I don't know. I think that maybe it's just they didn't mesh well together or whatever with the match. It just didn't. It missed for me, and that's cool. That's cool. Not everybody's cup of tea. The Chris Jericho Hook match. Okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't understand why Hook is on TV. There.
Okay. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Explain yourself.
Well, listen, when I'm watching somebody on that level on TV and I see that they're taking, and I'm not even going to call it taking a bump because it's not, when they're falling the way that guys first starting out in wrestling, when they're falling the way that those people do because they're afraid to take that flat back bump, I have to question the people that put them on TV in that position.
Lex Luger got through his whole career taking an improper bump. So sometimes it can happen.
Oh, yes. Sometimes it can happen. But that doesn't mean that you go back to it the next time as well. I don't buy, listen, maybe it's me being old. Maybe it's I'm out of touch. I don't give a shit. At the end of the day, I don't understand the Hook character, the shoegazing, fix your hair, emo kid. I don't get it. You're not impressing me with your physique. You're not impressing me with your size, anything that you're doing in there in the ring. And you can clearly tell last night you're in the ring with Chris fucking Jericho, guy. Should be one of the easiest things in the world to be in the ring with because he is going to talk you through start to finish. No problem. He's got you. He's Chris Jericho. Regardless of what you think of him, he is a damn good professional inside of that ring and knows exactly what he's doing at all times. And
people can, have your feelings on Jericho all you want or Fozzy or whatever's going on. But there's one thing that has been a testament throughout the years, and you hear it from everybody who matters, is that when they were working Chris, they knew they were pretty much getting the night off.
Yeah, 100%. Because he had you. He knew the match start to finish. He knew the crowd. He knew what he was going to do. You were fine. There were spots last night. There were spots on this weekend that Hook just did not know what he was doing.
There was vets that used to let Jericho call the matches because they were just like, yeah, it makes my life easier if this young kid is going to take me through it. Cool. Let's go.
Yeah.
No, Jericho's a good hand. He's always been a good hand. Everybody says that. So that you're right. It's not, he's in the ring with someone who should be like working a broomstick.
Yeah. He should be busting his ass. Like bumping like he's never bumping like everything, like he got shot with a shotgun to the face every single time.
Speaking of feelings, what are your feelings on the crowd in St. Louis chanting things like "Go home, Jericho," which from an insider's term is hilarious,
right.
to "Please retire"?
Yeah. I mean, they were a little harsh. I mean, but they were also kind because during the ladder match later on, they were chanting things like, please be careful.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't think St. Louis really knows what the hell they want.
I think St. Louis is just about having fun.
I think that they got all of their fun in that match with Daniel Bryan and Okada.
We're going Okada. No, Daniel Bryan and Ospreay.
Ospreay, I mean.
You're still celebrating 422.
Probably him and Ospreay. Fantastic match.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I did not like about it was the finish. I didn't like the injury angle afterwards. It's clearly an angle. And I didn't like it because I felt, for me, it took away from everything that they did in that match prior. All of the physicality that they did, and the fact that they showed the move in slow motion just so you could see how perfect of a bump he took off of it, and then tried to sell the injury angle.
I've seen people get hurt off of perfect bumps. The body's weird. It does things. Sometimes you'll see a perfect bump and the guy will get a stinger off of a perfect bump, right? Yeah. Like Misawa passed away off of taking a perfect German suplex. Yeah. So it happens, but yeah.
So if it's a real injury, then if it was, and that's what you're trying to sell, why did they lay there in the ring with him for so long afterwards?
Well, we
scoop him up. You get a stretcher out there and you get him out of there.
If you watch the full scope of wrestling, especially on weekends, like if you're going to take in everything, the night before we actually did get a real scare with someone who was just on this show a couple weeks ago. If you were watching it live, you seen Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young in a Full Metal Mayhem match or whatever it was called.
Yep.
Where they took a Spanish fly and it was just, they rotated a little off to the side, just the wrong way, or the table was on the wrong place, whatever had happened. They came down on the table. It was pretty nasty. The actual medical staff rushed in because they were worried.
Yeah.
So we just seen this the night before of how it happens when someone's actually worried and doctors are like honestly checking on somebody, or when you're doing the work and the work looks so much different.
Right. The work has to be shot in a way that it doesn't look like a work, as opposed to what we saw with, Cement Head, Eric Young, going through a table. Listen, I talked to him afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, how is
he? He's okay. I mean, because he has a head on him like an Easter Island statue.
All those neck bridges, man. He used to make us do neck bridges like crazy in training, so that's why.
The table apparently left crying afterwards because it got hurt.
Poor table.
Takes it again. Anyways, back to the AEW show. The match, though, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. Unbelievable match.
Yeah, it was
fantastic. Good. And the crowd, I mean, they blew it. They blew their entire wad during that match. It was out of hand because after that, you had to follow it up. And if this wasn't late enough already, you followed it up with the ladder match, with the tag team ladder match. That, I mean, it had what it was supposed to have. It was a car crash. It looked like a car wreck. It worked like a car wreck.
I actually didn't like the match at all.
You had blood from FTR, and then you had a big surprise with, Jungle Jumping Jack Perry showing up to the thing. Okay, so we'll see where that story goes. I'm interested to see where that story goes. And you could see the crowd was just kind of like, okay, all right, let's get to this main event. Let's get to this. We need to see the crowning of our new champion. And we talked about this a while ago. I'm surprised it happened it took as long to happen as it did, Bradie.
Mm-hmm.
Because we talked about it a while ago when Joe won the championship. I said that he was going to be a transitional champion, go into a program with Swerve, and then drop that belt to Swerve, because that is where your money is right now.
Mm-hmm. And this is back in December, I think we called that. Whenever Joe took the belt, which I think was December, their last pay-per-view.
Yeah, and that was absolutely a fantastic match.
It was quick
from start to finish, and it should have been. It didn't need to be a long match because you saw everything that you needed to with the Ospreay and Daniel Bryan match.
See, but I would have rather taken some time out of the 6-man tag, a little bit of time out of the ladder match, and then just added it to the main so that the main could have gotten a little bit more over. But I think you're right. It didn't matter how much time they had. The crowd there was like, all right,
Yeah,
I've had enough, guys.
the latter match was too long. That could have
Yeah.
ended about, 5 or 6 minutes earlier and been just fine. Because at the end of the day, you were sitting there watching guys just coming razor close to getting injured.
Well, and it
Right?
didn't need to go long because it was a screw job finish anyway.
Screw
So
job finish where the whole thing was predicated on the return of Jumpin' Jack Flash, you know. and the return to the ring by the security that realized when they took the mask off, oh, we're not supposed to do anything. That was wild. That was wild to me too. But TV and story, and then it's it's not cinematic, and so there you go.
yeah, I agree. Well, let's before we get into like some
Sure.
deep swerve talk, let's take a quick break, and when we come
Yeah.
back,
Well, I want
or
to
if
get
you
your
watch,
rating. I want to get your rating on a scale of 1 to 10. What did you give this AEW Dynasty pay-per-view, Bradie?
I don't like doing ratings, but I don't
Really?
know. Like I'm not a huge
Give it 5
ratings guy.
stars.
No, by the time Will Ospreay, I think I don't know if I texted you or somebody else, but I texted somebody. By the time Will Ospreay hit the stage, I'm like, well, Dave already gave it 97.5 fucking stars here.
Yeah.
Right, he blew his load when when the crowd was going, "This is awesome." Dave Meltzer was literally having a heart attack. His wife was screaming from downstairs, saying, "Keep it down, Dave. The cat's asleep, and Dave, keep it down," because he's upstairs jumping on the fucking bed, right in his little attic and wherever. Okay, we can move on.
Well, and
I don't give it ratings. I give it 8 stars. 8 fucking Meltzers.
8 Meltzers. Wow.
Eight
Okay.
Meltzers.
All right. I was giving it a solid 6.5.